tonight on CTV3 News. Belize braces for tropical storm as Invest 95L promises heavy rain and flood risk. Moody upgrades Belize's credit ratings to CAA1, outlook stable amid strong economic recovery. And Prime Minister tables $106.3 million supplementary budget for public service of Belize. These are some of the stories we have for you tonight in our newscast for Friday, October 18th, 2024. Good evening. With your news, also simulcast on Fiesta FM 106.7. I am Joanna Rodriguez. Concern is mounting among the Belizean population as the National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida, issues warnings about a tropical storm development in the Eastern Caribbean. The system, currently designated as Invest 95L, is projected to track inland over Belize, with a potential landfall expected within the next 24 hours. During a joint press conference today, Chief Meteorologist Ronald Gordon shared crucial updates regarding the evolving weather situation, which is being closely monitored. While developments are anticipated in the coming hours, the storm's trajectory indicates that Belize is now under a tropical storm watch, starting from Belize City extending northward. Gordon emphasized that residents should remain vigilant as incoming rain bands are already affecting the region and will only intensify by Saturday morning.
We have been closely monitoring the potential for development over the southwestern Caribbean Sea from the early parts of this week and throughout to this morning. The system has become better organized and currently has a high chance of becoming a tropical depression or a tropical storm before reaching Belize or the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico tomorrow morning. Currently, the chances are 70% of it becoming a tropical storm or depression. Regardless of whether the system becomes a tropical storm or depression, the main threat from the system for the country of Belize is going to be heavy rainfall, and that activity has already started, but we are seeing outer bands of showers and thunderstorms moving across the country from this system, and those are expected to continue throughout the evening and tonight and intensify into tomorrow morning. Rainfall estimates at the moment are for about 4 to 8 inches at the higher end, and based on the current trajectory, the highest amounts of rainfall will be in the extreme north of the country. Indications are that the center of the system will move somewhere north of Belize City and possibly make landfall over northern Belize or over even the northern or the across the border in Mexico. In terms of winds, at the worst case scenario of a low-end tropical storm, we can expect winds of somewhere between 40 and 50 miles per hour, maximum sustained. And those will occur mostly to the north of where the system makes landfall. The potential for storm surge will be minimal. With a tropical storm, we can expect maybe 1-2 feet maximum of storm surge. Again, in north of where the system makes landfall. One important threat or hazard is, of course, rough sea conditions. So certainly we will be advising mariners to either seek safe harbor or to remain in safe harbor until the passage of the system out of our area. Also, I will notify you that we have been in communication with the National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida, and they have indicated that as of 3 p.m. this afternoon, they will be issuing advisories on potential tropical cyclone 15. And the government of Belize at that point, or within that advisory, there will be a declaration of a tropical storm watch from Belize City northward. This system is within 24 hours of a potential landfall, and therefore residents should be paying keen attention and monitoring the system. Impacts over the country south of Belize City will be relatively minimal in terms of winds, but the rainfall potential is for the entire country, so we need to be on alert for possible flooding. Again, I will defer that to hydrology, but certainly rainfall, it can occur well away from where the center makes landfall.
Regardless of further development of Invest 95L, Belize will experience heavy rains, posing a significant risk of flooding in low-lying areas, particularly in communities near rivers. Hendy Taniel, representing the Hydrology Department, provided insights on the potential flooding risks and landslides in western Belize due to unexpected heavy rainfall.
Just to give you the current status of the situation with the rivers in the country. In the north, similar to yesterday, we are seeing elevated river levels. In the central, we are seeing the same, and as well in the south. The forecast in terms of soil moisture that we're seeing right now, it's very high in the west of the country, Maya Mountains going to the coast. In terms of any potential landslide threats, we're not seeing any at this time, but that is highly dependent on the rainfall activity, its intensity, and where it occurs. In terms of flash flooding, because I know this will be a question that will be brought up at this current model run that we're doing. We're not seeing any immediate threats within the next 6 hours. However, we reiterate that these are models and they are run in a specific time period. And so this will be updated later today and as well over the weekend. The flash flood risk in the first 12 hours is not a positive one. However, within the 24 and the 36-hour window, that risk increases to a very medium high potential for flash flooding, and it's, as we normally know, in the west of the country, in the south, and now we're seeing in the north. For flooding, we're seeing right now that the Rio Hondo, the New River, and portions of the Belize River are forecasted to have flood levels. Again, this can increase or decrease depending on the actual rainfall that takes place. Historically, we have seen that for about 3 to 6 inches in the Orange Walk district, we had several communities experiencing urban flooding. And so we are reiterating, trying to cement that you need to monitor the rainfall, monitor the water levels in your area. It can increase or change very rapidly. We will be issuing our forecast 8 o'clock in the morning, 12, and if it's possible at 4 p.m. We just have to keep monitoring and see if we need to make any changes to update the public.
The National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, is proactively preparing for the impending storm threat. Today, the Emergency Operations Center EOCs in all our districts have been activated.
So today, the EOCs in all our districts are having planning meetings with their members in preparation for the potential flood and wind risk. So we have also been reaching out to all the vulnerable communities in the north. This has actually begun. We have been speaking to the communities and the leadership of the communities, informing them of the potential rain and wind. And we have started to work with them to ensure that these preparations are in place. So all of our districts are actually meeting now between now and 3 p.m. At the national level, we will be conducting a planning meeting with all of the national liaison officers here at the NEMA headquarters in preparation for any activation. All the preparation, we have stocks in place in all the district offices, and our personnel will be on standby over the weekend. We will also continue to monitor this closely along with the Met Service and the hydrology department to ensure that we are in a position to respond quickly if there's a need to do so. As I said, we are anticipating these impacts. So I really want to stress to the public that if you are in one of these vulnerable locations, if you are in a village that is at risk for flooding, please keep on monitoring and please be prepared to implement your action plan if this should occur. We also are recommending to all residents that we need to start looking at clearing of drains and doing everything we can to minimize any potential flooding to your property. Clearing drains, removing debris, this is the time to do so. And again, keep on listening to all of the messages that would be coming out from NEMO, from the hydrology department, and from the Met Service.
Authorities are urging the public to stay informed on the situation, stating that all alerts and updates will be made available through the National Meteorological Service of Belize website, social media channels, and Belize weather app, which is accessible to Android users. The National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, has issued advisory number 1 this afternoon at 3 p.m. regarding the potential development of Tropical Cyclone 15. As of this evening, the system was located approximately 210 miles east of Belize City at latitude 17.5 north and longitude 85.0 west. The cyclone is currently moving west-northwest at a speed of 7 miles per hour with maximum sustained winds of 35 miles per hour. Forecasters predict that the system will continue its westward trajectory throughout the evening and is expected to make landfall tomorrow, Saturday, October 19th. There is potential for slight intensification, with projections indicating that it could reach low-end tropical storm status with winds of up to 50 miles per hour by the time it approaches the coast. NEMO is alerting residents to prepare for heavy rainfall with expectations of 4 to 8 inches in central and northern Belize, raising concerns for possible flooding, particularly in coastal areas. Officials are urging mariners to remain in harbor until an all-clear is issued by the government of Belize due to rough seas anticipated in the coming hours. Strong winds are also likely to impact northern Belize, prompting NEMO to recommend that all residents stay updated on the situation as it continues to develop. As of the latest advisory, residents in southern Belize are not under a tropical storm watch but are encouraged to monitor the system closely. NEMO will continue to provide updates as they receive new information regarding the storm's progression and potential impacts. Residents are urged to take necessary precautions to ensure their safety and the safety of their property as Tropical Cyclone 15 draws nearer. Today, parliamentarians reconvened for a special sitting of the House of Representatives, and one of the first motions tabled was a loan motion for $20 million raised by Prime Minister John Briceño for the Development Finance Corporation. The $20 million loan from the Caribbean Development Bank will go to the DFC's line of credit for its ongoing lending program. The motion provides for these funds to be made available to the Belizean people in areas including the productive sector and MSMEs, which will be able to access a total of 18 million Belize dollars, 9 million towards residential mortgages, 9 million towards education, and 4 million for renewable energy and energy efficiency.
Again, this motion is to seek this honorable House to approve the government guarantee of US $20 million. This new line of credit is intended to support the DFC's ongoing lending program. And this is the breakdown that we want to do. For the productive sector, for small businesses, we want to set aside $18 million, Belize dollars. For residential mortgages, $9 million. For education, $9 million. For renewable energy and energy efficiency, $4 million. Madam Speaker, I'm sure that the Minister of Education will be the first to tell you the tremendous need there is for education assistance to our young people. We have a lot of very intelligent and very young people or students that want to do more, that want to study, and in some instances, well, it's impossible for them to meet it just from their own resources. As a government, we have been providing millions of dollars. I mean, I think the last time we've been asking for, how much have we gotten so far, Minister, in education? So we've been, I think we've been giving educational assistance, as we say, to the tune of millions of dollars, and I think we are asking for even more monies to be able to try to keep up. And we try to help as best as we possibly can. But by doing this now, with this loan, then we can make monies available through the DFC, which will be cheaper, and we'll be able to, the students will have a longer term period to be able to pay it back, as opposed to going strictly to a commercial bank. So we are setting aside $9 million out of this monies, of these $40 million for our young people. This line of credit for CTV really is a testament to the, what you call the transformation that has been taking place at DFC, and the recognition that the DFC is receiving from the multilateral institutions. The work of the DFC now is being recognized not only in Belize, but also internationally. And despite a challenging environment marked by high global inflation, sustaining high interest rates in international markets, and its consequential squeeze on the corporation's interest margins, over the past 4 years, DFC has achieved a marked increase in its portfolio growth and improved its portfolio quality. This has helped to offset the adverse impact of the increase in cost of funds, and has resulted in DFC recording a profit for 2 consecutive years in 2022 and 2023. All along these years, because of the lack of proper attention to the DFC have been losing money, and now we have been making sure that we can keep this as a profitable entity to be able to continue to provide support for development of this country.
Now, while the opposition stood to support the loan motion, both the opposition leader, Honorable Shine Barrow, and Area Representative for Colette Patrick Faber also raised concerns about the accessibility of these funds, particularly for our Belizean students.
Who will qualify for the $9 million, Madam Speaker? The people that need education assistance, the students that need educational assistance, Madam Speaker. They do not have any land for collateral. Their parents cannot co-sign for the facility, Madam Speaker, and I've told the Minister of Education about this in this honorable House politely, over and repeatedly. There needs to be adjustments. This money is being borrowed not on behalf of the Briceño enterprise, the Jaime Briceño or Haisam Diab enterprise. It's being borrowed on behalf of the Belizean people. So the Belizean people, Madam Speaker, that need the education assistance desperately do not have the access. I could tell you about a young person that was studying in UWI, and she came to get educational assistance. The Ministry of Education, through the Office of Mesopotamia, assisted her, but she still needed more assistance, Madam Speaker. And I said, well, why don't you go to the DFC? She said, but I don't have any collateral, Mr. Barrow. My mom and my dad already signed for my brother, and I'm on my own. So, I urge the government to address these challenges of the Belizean people whom have to pay this loan back.
Education Minister Francis Fonseca, responding to these concerns, maintained that the Development Corporation strives to work with all Belizeans who endeavor to access any of these loans, particularly those within the education sector.
So many young people, so many creative people, so many women are in that sector and will benefit significantly from these resources being made available. And the point, because we discussed this at length in Cabinet, the point that is being made about the DFC, absolutely, yes, valid, legitimate points. But the DFC is absolutely aware of these issues, and they are working, as the Prime Minister rightly pointed out, they work with their clients. They work with these targeted groups to try to address any concerns that they have, any issues. How can we, that's the entire spirit in which they operate. How can we work with you to make it easier for you to access this credit? The DFC has no interest in just having money on their books there. They want that money to be borrowed, and they're looking for ways to ensure that people who need the funds, who will use those funds effectively, get access to those funds. So the MSME is a critically important component of this. The other area, of course, is, again, low-income housing, another critically important priority for this government. The Ministry of Infrastructure Development and Housing has been doing tremendous work of making available low-income housing for people. But obviously, this is not something that the ministry, the government alone can do. So we have to find additional resources and make additional resources available to people. Again, a targeted group of people. And again, there the DFC is working in creative ways to ensure that the terms and conditions of these loans make them accessible to the people who need them.
During today's House meeting, Prime Minister John Briceño also rose to present the resolution for the expansion of the protection of Belize's total ocean space and the medium biodiversity protection zone motion. This motion seeks to increase Belize's ocean space as biodiversity protection zones to 25%. This falls in line with the Blue Bond Debt Conversion Agreement signed between the Government of Belize and the Nature Conservancy, TNC, to enable the country to reduce its debt burden and increase its investment in marine conservation. The agreement requires legislation required to legally enforce the Marine Spatial Plan that guides sustainable development and designates up to 30% of Belize's ocean as biodiversity protection zones.
And whereas as of November 4, 2022, the government of Belize has successfully delivered milestones 1, 2, and 3, and is expected to achieve milestone 4 by November 4th of 2024. And whereas milestone 4 of the CFA states, and I quote, "No later than 3 years after signing the agreement, the National Assembly shall approve, and the government shall formally sign into law and gazette biodiversity protection zones, BPZs, covering a total of 25% of our ocean," which is the Caribbean Sea, so nobody gave X, right? And whereas, as to date, Belize has legally designated 20.05% or 669,046 hectares or 6,690.46 square kilometers of its total ocean space as biodiversity ocean zones. And whereas to meet the milestone 4 target, a minimum of 165,100 hectares or 4.95% of Belize's ocean space is being proposed to be further designated as medium protection biodiversity zones. And whereas the CFA obliges Belize to protect up to 30% of the total ocean space, as 15% or half of it as high protection biodiversity zone, no take. You're not allowed to fish or anything in that area. And then the other 15%, you have medium protection biodiversity zones for general use. And whereas the proposed 4.95% expansion will be designated as a medium protection biodiversity zones, which are described in conservation funding agreement as zones, quote, zones suitable for some level of extraction and seabed alteration with appropriate management and direction, depending on the objective of each designated area, end of quote.
Speaking on the motion, opposition leader Shine Barrow raised concern from fisher folk who says are concerned about the increased areas to be designated as protected zone and how it will affect their livelihoods.
One of the concerns I would like to bring to you is from the fishermen. They feel that all of this conservation is hurting them. So the more and more you conserve, the less they are able to earn a living. And it is a legitimate concern that has been expressed by my colleagues, the standard bearers, from the different constituencies that have an abundance of fishermen. So it's something to look into. We support conservation, but we also support our fishermen earning a living to be able to take care of their families. So please bear that in mind. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
In contrast, Tourism Minister Honorable Anthony Mahler cited the conservation efforts as having great benefits for the tourism sector, as a large majority of tourists visit Belize for its natural wonders.
Small countries like Belize have been given a raw deal by the developed nation, and that they can do a lot more in supporting small countries like Belize and small island developing nations who are at threat of climate change and what we're seeing all around us. So they can do a lot more. We are doing our part in this country. We're doing our part in this region. Latin America holds about 50% of the world's biodiversity, and it is important for us to continue to preserve our natural resources. Madam Speaker, the Blue Bond Initiative has helped us both from a preservation standpoint and from a financial and economic standpoint. It helped us to restructure the ugly super bond that was a shackle around our necks for many, many years. And it is also being utilized to help preserve more of our marine spaces. Madam Speaker, the marine resources provide at least 50% or over 50% of our GDP. 80% of the people who come to Belize come for marine-based activities. And so designating more areas as protected areas and preserving the resources that are in there is crucial to the preservation for future generations. Some people know about Belize, some people know about the Blue Hole and don't know where it is. We have the second largest barrier reef in the world, a World Heritage Site. All these things deserve to be protected even more. And so it is important that we continue to take initiatives like this one and all initiatives that fall under this agreement to ensure that we have preservation for our livelihoods and for people who want to experience Belize. So I support this motion.
Coming up next, International Infection Prevention Week 2024 concludes with call to move the needle on health safety in Belize. Stay tuned.
This plan, I can't leave this plan. Smart Belize!
Hey there, smart thinkers. We're turbocharging your mobile experience with Smart's powered up postpaid plans. Imagine a world where your data speed flows faster than ever. Well, guess what? We've cranked up the dial and unleashed the postpaid power of Smart's lightning fast LTE data on all our postpaid plans. That's right, no speed bumps, more data. It's like having a limitless highway of data speed at your fingertips. Whether you're a lone ranger with an individual plan or a squad rolling with a group plan, everyone gets to surf, stream, and share at enhanced, full, high-quality speed. Switch to Smart's powered-up postpaid plans today and ride the wave of postpaid power. Visit any Smart showroom or smart-bz.com for details and make your mobile experience smarter and faster. Smart, bringing people together.
I know I can't let this plan. I can't let this plan.
Throughout the week, International Infection Prevention Week has been highlighted across public health centers and hospitals, with the Ministry of Health and Wellness joining the global community to raise awareness about the significance of infection prevention under the theme, Moving the Needle on Infection Prevention. The week featured numerous activities aimed at mobilizing everyone from the general public to healthcare professionals, reinforcing the idea that infection prevention is a collective responsibility rather than an issue for others alone. Today, the Corozal Community Hospital hosted a small informational event in the NHI's conference room. Our reporter, Elmer Cornejo, was on site to cover the event and has prepared the following story.
The culmination of International Infection Prevention Week 2024 marked a significant moment for health promotion in Belize, as officials urged both the public and health professionals to move the needle on safety practices. The Corozal Community Hospital, under the leadership of Infection Control Officer Dr. Victor Smith, organized a week-long series of activities that emphasized the importance of infection control in healthcare settings. Today, the week of events came to a close with an informative session held at the Corozal NHI conference room. Dr. Smith addressed the attendees, highlighting the critical role that constant reminders and educational initiatives play in maintaining best practices to reduce intra-hospital infections.
What we're having today is the final health fair on infection and prevention control. This is being done to the staff here at the Corozal Community Hospital, and as you can see, we're having an event, and we're putting posters, right, on different infectious diseases, also on procedures on how to do the donning and the doffing, which means how to put on the PPEs, which are the personal protective equipment, and how to also remove the PPEs adequately when we are seeing a highly infectious patient, right? So also we're having staff here helping us in showing the procedures of how we are managing the waste disposal, right? The red bags that include blood, that include highly infectious diseases, right? And other stuff that we manage here at the hospital. So for this week, we had several activities. As you may already have known, on Monday, it was a fair day, so we started our activities on Tuesday. On Tuesday, we had hand washing sessions with the patients here at the clinic, and also on other clinics here at the Corozal district. On the next day, what we had is a health fair at Caledonia, and a health fair at Caledonia. Also, we had other activities with the children, particularly, and the patients that we saw. We talked to them also about the proper hand washing, about the activities we do at the hospital, on how we protect our patients and our staff, and certain infectious diseases, like, for example, tuberculosis that is prevalent in our population, right? And yesterday we had also a hand washing session with some of the patients here at the Corozal Community Hospital and the OPD setting. And well, today, as you can see, we're culminating with these activities, right, with the staff. It is a refresher for them because they already know how to do these procedures, but we want them to know the importance, right, and just to make a refresher on the procedures that are being done and to see if they're following the correct protocols of these things that we do here at the hospital, right?
In Belize, while the health sector has advanced under the current Briceño administration, it is not without its challenges. That's why it is crucial to keep reinforcing the importance of safety measures and the ongoing education for both medical staff and the general public, as a means to mitigate risks associated with infections, particularly in hospital settings where vulnerable patients are present.
And what I have seen here at the hospital is that there are maybe some procedures that are not being followed properly. And also there has been some things that maybe some of the staff may not know. So I have been there 100% of the way. With the help also of administration, I have received a lot of help with Mr. Riverol for us to oversee that the procedures, the protocols, and also the materials for us to need. For example, we have placed a lot of hand washing in all of the stations here at the hospital. And we have procured materials, like for example, for there to be Clorox, and for it to be diluted, and for it to be placed in, and for the cleaning to be done, right? So these are some of the things that we're doing here. And we have seen that, yes, there has been improvement in controlling many of the pathogens that we see, especially nosocomial infections. With nosocomial infections, these are infections that can happen intra-hospital, meaning inside the hospital, right, from patient to patient. So that is one of the main goals that we're trying to do here, to reduce and prevent nosocomial infections, right, because we have sick patients here.
A major focal point of the campaign was the promotion of proper hand hygiene, recognized as the single most effective method to prevent the spread of infections.
Since first humans appeared here on Earth, there has been infections, and there has been many epidemics and also past pandemics, right? For example, the Spanish flu and many other pandemics that have happened, and there has been a lot of deaths, sadly. And well, one of the things that I can say to the families and to the people out there is for them to take care, to take the necessary precautions, have your hand sanitizer when you're going out, for example, to Chetumal or to the store, handling money, handling goods, shaking hands, being exposed to other people, animals. It's important for you to hand wash your hands, especially if they are soiled. If your hands is visibly dirty, you have to do the hand washing with soap and water. If your hands is not visibly dirty, then you can use rubbing alcohol, right? Especially if you're traveling, if you're handling money, or if you're exposed to other people, right? Especially in big events. And one thing is for us to have a culture of using the face mask. If we're going to an area, for example, a big supermarket or an event where there will be a lot of people, it's important for us to carry our face mask and for us to have it on. Why? Because more than likely we'll encounter a person that will be coughing, sneezing, and it's important to protect ourselves, and in protecting ourselves, we're going to protect our families. Also, if we are having flu-like symptoms, it's important for us to use our face mask when we go out there in the public, and also in our household, so we can protect our family members and protect our citizens, right, and our community, so as for us to stop the spreading of diseases, right? As we are entering now into the winter season, right, where we are going to experience cold fronts, and there is going to be a rise in flu-like symptoms. So it's very important for us to use our face masks, to have our hand sanitizers, right, and to seek medical attention if we see no improvement.
The public is also reminded about the significance of seeking medical attention promptly when feeling unwell, and the importance of using a mask when visiting healthcare facilities in order to contribute to collective efforts in moving the needle on infection prevention. Elmer Cornejo, CTV3 News.
The Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, IACHR, visited Belize today, making a significant impact in the nation's capital. The commission met with various civil society organizations, CSOs, at the Biltmore Hotel in Belize City to foster collaboration and strengthen partnerships focused on the universalization of inter-American human rights instruments and standards. The morning session served as an important platform for participants to receive training and technical support aimed at enhancing their capabilities in promoting and observing human rights. Among those present was Christy Almeida, Executive Chair of Autism Belize, who spoke to reporters about the engagement.
Well, I came here today because they said they were going to help train us to strengthen mechanisms regarding human rights. But they've started off really well because they've asked us what are our problems, what are our challenges. So that's sort of the debate that's going on right now for CSOs. You know, for the majority of us are really small. We're not funded, but we're trying to advocate and push for persons with disabilities, for LGBTQIA rights, for justice and government reform. And these are not necessarily the most sexy of issues. And so it is nice that the agency is not here to just tell us what we should be doing, but are actually listening to our challenges and the challenges that our populations face.
Kaylee Barasca, the executive director of UNIBAM, Belize's only LGBT-focused NGO, was also present today. Orozco has been a vocal advocate for the rights of LGBT individuals and indigenous peoples in Belize. He pointed out that recognition of human rights for these groups is crucial for the nation's future development.
Well, human rights is some foreign concept. In simple terms, you can't give it away. You can't divide it up. And no matter what you look like, fat, thin, any ethnicity, old, young, child, gay, straight, no matter what characteristic you have, it's yours. The state can't take it away. The state can devalue it by committing acts of violence, but the state can't take it away without your consent. But they can do it as well with your consent. And for the most part, we live in a country where people give up their human rights by remaining silent. And that is problematic because it allows the state to be unaccountable for its action, especially around the way it treats LGBT Belizeans. One of the things I'm reminded of after 43 years, we have an equal protection clause. But the state has been extremely negligent around upholding the values of that equal protection clause. We have a preamble that speaks to the state is required to address economic and social disparity between citizens. In fact, it's a national ethos. Again, the state is quite happy to ensure that that value in the Constitution is ignored. Furthermore, the state has been given handed to comprehensive anti-discrimination legislation that includes everybody.
As the IACHR continues its mission to engage and support civil society in Belize, the discussions held today mark a pivotal step towards promoting and protecting human rights across the nation, particularly for historically marginalized communities. Organizations and leaders alike remain hopeful that these engagements will lead to tangible changes that uphold the dignity and rights of every Belizean. On Tuesday, Moody's Ratings of New York announced it had upgraded the government of Belize's foreign and local currency issuer ratings to CAA1 from CAA2. The outlook remains stable. A credit rating is an evaluation of the credit risk of a prospective debtor, whether an individual, a business, company, or a government, predicting their ability to pay back the debt at an implicit forecast of the likelihood of the debtor defaulting. Moody's statement said that the upgrade to CAA1 is driven by the significant reduction in the post-restructuring debt burden, aided by a stronger than expected post-pandemic recovery and an improvement in Belize's primary balance. The shift to primary surpluses from deficits will ensure debt remains on a downward trend, even as growth slows towards potential. The upgrade also takes into account the build-up in external foreign exchange buffers, supported by a structural improvement in the current account balance. The CAA1 rating factors in Belize's history of serial defaults and its weak liquidity management track record. Moody's approved of a decline in debt to GDP ratio to 70.6% at the end of 2023 from 103.1% at the end of fiscal 2020, which could be supported by structural fiscal reforms, including pension and tax reform. But it noted that with the gradual step up in interest payments on the commercial blue loan, debt affordability will weaken. Such step-ups have in past instances led to government liquidity constraints for Belize, especially when they coincided with external shocks, including in the event of severe weather-related shocks. Concurrently, Moody's raised Belize's local currency ceiling to B2 from B3, 2 notches above the issuer rating, reflecting moderate predictability and reliability of institutions and government actions, and the economy's reliance on tourism as a single source of common revenue. Similarly, they raised the foreign currency ceiling to B3 from CAE1, 1 notch below the local currency rating, reflecting Belize's moderate external indebtedness and potential capital account restrictions to safeguard the currency pegged to the US dollar in times of stress. Moody's economic forecast suggests a 3.4% growth rate in real gross domestic product GDP for 2024, declining to 2.5% for 2025 and beyond. Foreign exchange reserves stand at $440 million at the end of July, close to the highest level in a decade, sufficient to cover 3.3 months of imports. Moody's further notes that the government has started negotiations on reforms to the pension plan for public officials, PPPO, for new hires and for existing employees during fiscal 2024. In line with IMF recommendations, the government is also reviewing the number of zero-rated items under the goods and services tax as one option to raise revenue. The last rating from Standard & Poor's agency was B in November of 2021. And there is more news after the break. Stay tuned.
This plan, I can't leave this plan. Smart Belize.
Hey there, smart thinkers. We're turbocharging your mobile experience with Smart's powered up postpaid plans. Imagine a world where your data speeds flows faster than ever. Well, guess what? We've cranked up the dial and unleashed the postpaid power of Smart's lightning fast LTE data on all our postpaid plans. That's right, no speed bumps, more data. It's like having a limitless highway of data speed at your fingertips. Whether you're a lone ranger with an individual plan or a squad rolling with a group plan, everyone gets to surf, stream, and share at enhanced, full, high-quality speed. Switch to Smart's powered-up postpaid plans today and ride the wave of postpaid power. Visit any Smart showroom or smart-bz.com for details and make your mobile experience smarter and faster. Smart, bringing people together.
I know I can't leave this plan. I can't leave this plan.
A bill to appropriate further sums of money for the use of public service of Belize for the financial year ending March 31st, 2025 was also tabled at the House today by Prime Minister John Briceño. The bill provides for a total supplementary appropriation of $106.3 million, $10.8 million on the recurrent budget, $52.1 on Capital 3 budget, and $44.3 million on the Capital 3 budget. The monies will be earmarked for various projects, including infrastructure, from which the North stands to benefit.
The additional requirement of $10.8 million is the lowest recurrent supplementary over the past 4 years, less than 20% of its peak back of $60 million in the fiscal year of 2021-2022. The Cap 2 and Capital 3 supplementary budgets reflect a mixture of continuing priorities and unforeseen developments. These continuing priorities include an additional $7 million for education, of which a lot is going to be used for helping more with educational scholarships, trying to help as many students that we have. We have almost $2 million for health, $2.8 million to support social assistance programs, $1.6 million for 50 homes funded by our friends in Taiwan, $1.4 million for the renovation of the National Assembly building, $1.5 million for further modernization of the Customs Department, $9 million for the Ministry of Natural Resources, $8 million for local government, including works in Belama, and $42 million for the infrastructure projects across the country. These infrastructure projects include, but are not limited to, in the Corozal District, the Remate Bypass, upgrading, as well as the Caledonia Main Street and the paving of the Progresso Road. In the Orange Walk District, the paving of 7 miles in the Guinea Grass Road and the upgrading of the Blue Creek Road. As to the unforeseen developments, Madam Speaker, $3 million is being allocated to agriculture. $1 million will be used for the screwworm prevention of cattle. We're also making available $2 million for fertilizers for the sugar industry and citrus. As to citizen security, Madam Speaker, we still have this perennial problem in the north with the Caborca cartel trying to come into Belize, and we have to spend the monies now, not later, when we'll not be able to stave them off or to fight them off. So we have to put in another 800 million to be able for, to be, sorry, 800,000 to be allocated for special joint security operations up in the north. These supplementary expenditures will be funded by a mix of revenue and grants and budgetary savings that, and so there's no real need to restore to new borrowings. In the Capital 3 budget, just over 17 million, or over 40% of that proposed supplementary allocation, will come from grant funding, while the remainder will be drawn down from bilateral and multilateral financial sources on a highly concessionary terms. The Capital 2 and the current and the recurrent programs will be funded from the domestic revenue sources, including an over $3 million in additional grants. So, Madam Speaker, the revenue performance to date shows that the collections are above the initial budget by about 2.5%. This is expected to contribute about $27 million in additional revenues by the end of this financial year. On the expenditure side, we anticipate that the original capital budget will not be implemented as rapidly as first projected, and this would result in notional savings or underspending of another $30 million or so. This supplemental appropriation bill is the very first one, and may well be the only one, we hope, for this fiscal year. It represents the lowest percentage of the approved budget estimates at 6.6% compared to prior year supplementaries, which went as high as 18%.
In a significant development for Belize's financial oversight, Maria Rodriguez has been appointed as the acting Auditor General, a position she will hold for the next 4 months. The government passed a resolution affirming her appointment during today's House meeting. Rodriguez's appointment is retroactive to September 1st, 2023, although the formal notice was only issued yesterday. This decision comes in the wake of the expiration of Dorothy Bradley's contract on August 31st.
Now therefore be it resolved that this Honorable House recommends that Ms. Maria Rodriguez be appointed to act as Auditor General for a period of 4 months, with effect from the first day of September 2024. Madam Speaker, this is a very straightforward resolution, and as we all are aware that the Auditor General, previous one, was already retired, and we had to bring her back in, and her time again has come to an end, and so we need to be able to appoint another one. And as the resolution states, it said the Governor General acting on recommendation for both houses. We need both houses to be able to help us for this one. I want to be clear, Madam Speaker, that the notice went out for a qualified person to fill the post of the Auditor General, and we hope that this process will be concluded by the end of the year. Again, I know a lot of people get excited about it, but we are trying to do our very best to be able to get a qualified person. Even within the Office of the Auditor General, there are challenges as to who best can fit this post. So we believe that the best way to do that is to advertise it, and the people in the office, they also can also apply for that post. It's going to be an open and transparent post. We have no hidden agenda. We want to ensure that we get the right person. We have agreed, and we say it, and I'm sure the opposition will say it, that this is one area that we have to strengthen. We are working with the IMF as it is right now, Madam Speaker, to find ways of how we could strengthen the auditing, the Office of the Auditor General, and also to bring up all our accounts up to date. So it's not something that we are that we deliberately don't want to do. We are working on it. It's a long process, and I know one of the challenges that we always have is that now we're competing with the private sector. If we don't have an adequate person, and I'm saying if, at the Auditor General's office, and I've not spoken to anyone in that office, then we have to go outside of that office, even within the government service or the private sector, and then that's where it becomes a little bit more trickier, because in the private sector you tend to, well, now, especially now with a very tight job market, we'll have to be able to maybe have to increase the salary that's being offered to them, which is ironically one of the suggestions that the NTUCB is now saying, that we may need to offer even a bigger package to get a good Auditor General. So before the leader of the opposition tries to score some political points, I want to make it very clear, there's no hidden agenda. This is only for 4 months. We're advertising the process. You all are going to be kept informed, and we do our very best to find an adequate Auditor General.
As expected, the leader of the opposition was not in agreement with the appointment.
So for the last 4 years, you have been telling us how important the Office of the Auditor General is, and you're trying to find a suitable replacement, but you have done nothing to do that. You mentioned that it is competitive if we go outside of the public sector. The PSU president and other members of the Public Service Union that I have been in touch with, they claim that that would be a colossal mistake, Madam Speaker. But when you look at the salary of the Auditor General, you talk about wanting a suitable candidate, but you're not offering suitable terms. $50,000 to go up against prime ministers and government ministers and special interests who are benefiting from the fleecing of the public coffers, not casting any aspersions to this government, but in general, Madam Speaker, this is a serious position. You know, and when you look at the replacement, I don't want to attack anybody personally, but there have been many criticisms. There have been many criticisms from people inside the office of the Auditor General as to the previous Auditor General, that she was toxic and created a hostile work environment. And this has been persistent criticism, and they say that Ms. Rodriguez, who sued you, I think she took you to court for defamation for saying that she was not independent, public service minister. But, Madam Speaker, there have been complaints.
Madam Speaker.
On a point of order.
Point of order, I mean, that is an outright dishonest statement. There was no lawsuit against the Ministry of Public Service. I mean, please, you need to retract that statement, member.
I know she wrote you a letter or something.
Neither, Madam Speaker. There was no lawsuit or letter or anything like that.
Need to be factual, so kindly retract that statement.
Well, that is based on information from the Public Service Union, so I would have to clarify, and if it is not factual, then I could withdraw it at the next sitting.
No,
of the
but
House.
if you don't know it to be factual, you shouldn't even bring it to the House.
No, but
That's a standing
I
order.
have reliable sources. I'm not going to give my sources.
Sources doesn't enter into the National Assembly. Just retract the statement.
No, Madam Speaker, I
If
think
you
you're
don't,
going too far.
the statement is being withdrawn. Thank you.
That is on
Continue.
you, yes.
Having served as one of 2 Deputy Auditor General since November 1st, 2019, Rodriguez brings a wealth of experience and a deep understanding of Belize's auditing practices. Her new role sees her surpass Selwyn Fuller, who previously held the deputy position alongside her. The Mamas Group here in Orange Walk Town today hosted bakers from across Orange Walk Town for an information session with chefs from Mexico and Guatemala who are in the country demonstrating products from the Baker line. These products are being introduced into the Belizean market, and today's session, according to the official distributor, Miriam Kal, was to provide bakers with more information about the benefits of these gourmet line of baking products.
Our baker brought in 2 very renowned chefs from Guatemala and Mexico City. They have recognition awards even in the US and stuff, right? And they both have expertise in different areas, right? And one of them has expertise in our type of tropical climate, which is very helpful for the bakers to understand which products in the line of my baker, which is over 2,000 products, is best for us, because obviously not all of them will apply for our climate, right? So what we did is we're introducing the products, ones that I already have on the market and new ones that we're introducing that they might want, and there's a need for it, so I will start bringing it into my next shipment, right? So we've been moving around the country doing that, and we had enough time, so Maba's group was able to assist us with immediately getting a group in Orange Walk too, who is interested in knowing more about the products and new techniques. Well, the pastry industry is a vast industry, and our products are designed to be from the home baker right up to the professional chef. So why should anybody be excluded, right? So of course, some of the products will be for the home baker, and some will be for those who are able to do more intricate cakes, you know, and we'll be maybe needing the fondants, and we'll be needing the gum pastes and the molding chocolate. So I think it's for everyone, and we're more than happy to have the home bakers be here and learn something.
And that's the news. We invite you to join us for another newscast on Monday, October 21st here on CTV3 News and Fiesta FM 106.7. Remember that to read a text version of the news, you can visit our website at ctv3believenews.com. You can also log on to our Facebook page for current stories at facebook.com/ctv3believenews or our YouTube channel at CTV3 News TV. From all of us here at CTV3 News, have a safe and pleasant weekend. Thank you for watching and listening. Good night.